If your mechanic sees you pull into the shop with one of these 5 cars, he is not smiling. He is calculating how fast he can get you out of his bay before you ask him to actually fix it. These are the 5 modern vehicles independent shops have quietly blacklisted. Not because mechanics cannot fix them, because the manufacturers engineered them to fail in ways that make repair financially insane. And while some companies have started walking away from these designs in their newest models, millions of these vehicles are still circulating on the used car market right now, waiting for their next owner. Let us start with the transmission that is mathematically guaranteed to self-destruct. Number 1. The Nissan and Infiniti rubber band transmission. A normal transmission uses heavy-duty physical gears, solid steel components designed to take torque and heat for hundreds of thousands of miles. The JATCO continuously variable transmission uses something completely different. It is a metal push belt clamped between 2 cone-shaped pulleys that squeeze together to change the gear ratio. In theory, brilliant. In practice, a disaster. The friction inside runs so hot the belt sheds microscopic metal shavings directly into the transmission fluid. Those shavings circulate through the entire unit, acting like liquid sandpaper. The first thing they destroy is the valve body, the brain of the transmission. Once those passages get scored, the transmission starts shuddering, slipping, and jerking under load. Owners describe it as a rubber band sensation. The engine revs, but the car does not accelerate. Then it lurches forward unpredictably. No shop will rebuild a JATCO CVT. They only swap the entire unit. A $4,000 repair on a vehicle that might be worth $6,000 on a good day. Here is what makes this dangerous right now. Nissan dominated the CVT era for over a decade, putting this transmission in the Altima, Sentra, Rogue, Pathfinder, Murano, and most Infiniti models. And while Nissan has recently been forced to switch back to traditional automatics in their larger SUVs to salvage their reputation, the used market is flooded with JATCO-equipped vehicles. Every dealer's lot, every Facebook marketplace listing, the next one is worse because it hides inside the engine. Number 2. The Ford Trojan Horse water pump. A water pump should be the simple part on your car. On a normal vehicle, when it fails, you see coolant puddling under your car and replace a $60 part. Weekend job. Ford had a different idea. On the 3.5-liter Cyclone 5.6, used in millions of Ford Explorers, Edges, Lincoln MKX models, and Taurus sedans in transverse layouts, Ford buried the water pump inside the engine block. They drove it off the internal timing chain. When the pump's mechanical seal inevitably fails, it doesn't leak coolant onto your driveway. It silently dumps gallons of coolant directly into the engine oil. The two fluids mix into a frothy brown sludge mechanics call a milkshake. That contaminated oil cannot lubricate anything. The bearings start wearing down within minutes. Most owners don't know anything is wrong until they hear the engine knock. By then, it's a complete engine replacement. A $15 internal seal failure becomes a $3,000 engine-out catastrophe. Ford rode this engine design out until roughly 2020 before quietly transitioning to revised layouts. But that doesn't help you on the used market. They left millions of these ticking time bombs circulating right now, sitting on used car lots with clean Carfax reports. The next one is so bad, the federal government got involved. Number 3. The Hyundai and Kia factory shrapnel engine. This is the one mechanics talk about in the break room. The engine that came from the factory pre-broken. Hyundai and Kia's 2.4-liter Theta II engine powered a huge slice of their lineup from 2011 through 2019. The Sonata, Santa Fe, Optima, Sorento, Tucson. Tens of millions of these engines hit the road with a catastrophic manufacturing defect baked in from day one. During machining at the engine block factory, microscopic metal debris got left inside the engine, tiny shavings that should have been flushed out before assembly. They were not. Hyundai shipped engines with debris still inside. That debris restricted oil flow to the connecting rod bearings. Without proper pressure, the bearings wore down within the first 1,000 miles. Eventually, they seize. When a rod bearing seizes, the connecting rod often snaps clean in half and gets thrown straight through the side of the engine block at high speed. A jagged hole punched through cast iron with the broken rod still poking out. Some failures have caused engine fires that destroyed entire vehicles. The NHTSA forced a recall of 1.4 million vehicles. Hyundai installed a knock sensor that listens for engine knock, signaling you are already screwed. By the time it triggers, the bearings are already gone. Number 4. The GM and Chevy self-crushing V8. The 5.3-liter V8 in the Chevy Silverado, GMC Sierra, Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, and Escalade is supposed to be the workhorse of American trucks. GM ruined it with one feature: active fuel management. The concept is this: to squeeze a marginal improvement in highway fuel economy, the engine shuts down 4 of its 8 cylinders when cruising. To make this work, GM uses collapsible hydraulic lifters on the deactivated cylinders. These lifters constantly fail. They get stuck in the collapsed position permanently. When that happens, the lifter starts grinding against the camshaft. That cam lobe gets ground down to metal powder, which then circulates through the oil. The engine starts misfiring, ticking, and throwing codes. By the time you notice symptoms, the camshaft is destroyed. Repair requires tearing down the entire top end, $4,000 minimum. And the kicker? Owners report the system saves maybe $50 per year in actual fuel costs. You're trading $50 in gas for a guaranteed $4,000 repair bill, often within the first 100,000 miles. Number 5. The Range Rover depreciation black hole. A new Range Rover SE starts north of $90,000. A loaded autobiography model crosses $180,000. The day the warranty expires, that vehicle is functionally worthless. You aren't buying an off-roader, you're buying a subscription to the mechanic's shop. Start with the V8 engines. They use plastic timing chain guides in the highest stress application inside an engine. Those guides become brittle, then shatter without warning. The chain can skip a tooth, valves slam into pistons, and the engine is destroyed. Then the electrical system. A single faulty seat module can drain the battery overnight. A failed body control module can brick the entire vehicle in the driveway. But the biggest offender is the AIR suspension. 4 rubber airbags inflated by an electric compressor. Those airbags develop tiny cracks and start leaking microscopically. The compressor runs constantly trying to maintain pressure until it burns out. At that point, the vehicle physically collapses. The body sits directly on the tires. Some owners wake up to find their Range Rover sitting on the ground like a dead animal, $6,000 minimum to replace. And it will happen again within a few years. A 3-year-old Range Rover loses 60% of its sticker value, and that's before the first major repair hits. If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. We cover the cars, trucks, and SUVs the dealerships hope you never research. So there's the Blacklist. The Nissan CVT designed to grind itself into shavings. The Ford water pump turns coolant into engine destroyer. The Hyundai engine that came from the factory pre-broken. The GM truck that grinds its own camshaft into dust. And the Range Rover that collapses onto its own tires. None of these failures are accidents. Each one is the predictable result of engineering decisions that prioritize cost-cutting or fuel economy over basic reliability. Some manufacturers have quietly walked away from these designs in their newest 2025 and 2026 models. But that does not help you on the USD market, where millions of these vehicles sit waiting for the next owner who did not do the research. Your defense is information. If you want the other side of this coin, the golden era. Trucks capable of hitting 300,000 miles without breaking down. That video is on screen now.